morning, this is Lindsay from Rural. I'm just coming on to do a little tutorial on how I do my makeup every day. I typically do pretty well the same thing every day. I like my neutrals, which I use a palette of grays and all my Merle products. So I am going to show you what I do today. As you can see, my skin is far from perfect. I have a ton of melasma, which is from the pregnancy hormone. So after I had my daughter and the fact of being on birth control, it causes these brown colorations around here, my nose, there. So I said it's funny because a lot of people, I get a lot of compliments saying that my skin looks perfect, which of course, as you can see, it's not. And I naturally have nice dark under eyes, so of course my Merle products, my concealer is one of my favorite things. So I use the Dual Action, which comes in a wand. This one is a nice thin consistency, so it isn't too heavy and it's not going to sit in any of your creases if you have creases. It is lightweight and it has age-defying properties in it as well. So I start with my concealer all around my eyes because that is one of my most troublesome areas because, again, I naturally am very dark under the eyes. I like to start with my concealer first. Some people do it the other way. They'll do a foundation and then go in with concealer. When I went to school, that was just the way we started, was with your concealer because you blot out all your imperfections first and then you go in with your foundation. So at the end of your foundation, you should look like a blank canvas and ready to start with all your colors. So the next thing I'm going to do is my Aqua Balance. It is a foundation that helps control oily where you're oily and put moisture where you need moisture. And also I tend to have a sensitivity to SPF, so this one does not. So if you're somebody who's going to spend a lot of time out in the sun on a day-to-day basis, then you need to make sure that you have a product applied underneath with SPF according to what your daily activities are. So I apply my foundation with my foundation brush. This one is called Face Number 7. It's a blunt brush, foundation brush on a handle, and of course you can see I used it yesterday, so mine's starting to look a little rougher. I tend to try to clean my brushes maybe once a week. And I apologize, I'm not used to having people watch, so I do tend to go quite quickly when I do my makeup. I tend to try to avoid my eyebrows a little bit. I do have microblading in there, although it's not fresh, so you will see how I like to use the Merle products to apply them because they are very sparse, blonde, and again my microblading is getting old, so it's not the same colors it used to be. After I do my foundation with the brush, I then go in with my sponge and blend. And I apologize in the background, that is my wonderful little girl, Miss Lily, singing to herself. So make sure you do up near your hairline. And then I always take the back side and I come down my neck and blend it out. I'm still using my winter color, so it does look a little bit lighter. I'm hoping maybe in the isolation I might get to see the sun a little bit more than usual. So after that, I go in with my Ultra Powder Foundation from Merle Norman, which it comes with a sponge, nicely tucked under there. I use a foundation powder over top of my foundation, my liquid, because I like to set my makeup with the powder, as well as I like the extra coverage, just because, again, it helps to cover up that melasma a little bit extra. So I just take this over everywhere. And again, like I said, I would take my sponge down my neck and make sure that you're not looking like there's a mask involved. So there, that's my base. So after that, I will go in with my first color, which is my ice. It's like a nice shiny white. For anybody who is a little bit older and does not like luminous, the other color that you could use as your base would be called ice. So what I do is I put this all the way from the lash line and I work it right up into my brow because this is my highlight color. I typically work with 3 colors on eyes because I have a light color, which is the highlight, I have my medium color, which is my lid color, and then I have my darkest color, which is my crease color. So pretty much with this technique, I can do a variety of depending on just what color palette I want to use. Again, like I said, I typically love my grays. So my next color I'm coming in with is my lava, which you can see I use the most of. And when I do my lid color, I always use my eyeshadow sponge because I want a saturation of color on my lid. So again, I'm going from my lash line all over my lid. I always want my lid color to pop, so I use my sponge just because I can find you can get a little bit more pigment with that. If you use a brush, you just get a little bit lighter coverage. That's my second color. That's my lid color. And then I'm going to come in with my darkest color, which is my crease color. So that is Storm from Merle Norman, of course. I've been with Merle now for 14 years, and I use all of their makeup products every day. So when I do my crease color, I kind of do what they call the backwards V, or kind of I always called it the Pac-Man. So I kind of bring a little bit right here on my edge of my lash, and then I find my crease, and then I kind of slowly just start to blend it in there. And then I will use my angle brush, and I will kind of use that and go back and forth to help blend. And then as I go, if I need to extend it up in towards the brow a little bit more, I do that. So usually I'll stop, have a peek, make sure that it's a good blended outward, so it's not just right in the crease itself. This just helps to give the eyes some more dimension. Again, I'm doing my backwards V, so I come a little bit here, and then I put my brush kind of in my crease and just kind of slowly start working it out. It's always nice with your dark color too to start with just a little bit. I just dab it lightly. I never ever sweep my brush into my colors because you'll end up with too much color, too much saturation, and then it's hard to take it away once it's there, especially when you're working with a dark color. And if you have too much powder on your brush, it's going to end up falling all under your eye. And if that happens, the best thing to do is not to panic, and don't just take your hand and wipe it because it's just going to smear it. If you just finish it off, and then what you can do is you can take either your powder brush, or I will sometimes take my sponge with my powder, just like this again. And typically that will just take it off without smearing it all over my face, so that I have to start all over again. So as you can see, those are my creases. So usually, to check and just make sure that it's about the same depth and saturation on both sides. And of course I'm in isolation, so no one's going to see me, so it doesn't really matter, but again, I do my makeup the same I do every day, whether I'm home or not. So my next thing I'm going to do is my eyeliner. So I like the soft touch in the blackout, which is my favorite. So because my lids are fairly small, I don't tend to put my eyeliner on my lid. I actually do my underwater line, so it's underneath my lashes, because it does accentuate your lash line without taking away from my lid color. Because if I put my eyeliner on my lid, I'm not going to be able to see that color that I put up there. So I do it under here. So I've been doing it for quite a while, so I can do it with my eye open. And you just get used to kind of where it's touching. And again, I kind of rest my chin on my hand so I'm not poking in too far. And of course, I did hit my nose there. So my little trusty Q-tip is my best friend. I usually just sit it on it and kind of twirl it. See, even I make mistakes. Sometimes you will get a little bit of transfer down onto that bottom waterline, but you can just use your Q-tip and just take it in. Sometimes as well, I won't take my eyeliner all the way to the inner corner there, just because I know with my mascara that it's going to add enough coverage that it doesn't much matter. So my trick with my mascara is, my favorite one is the Lash Lift, which is the waterproof mascara in the Deep Ebony. This is my favorite mascara just because, again, you can see my eyelashes are so blonde that it doesn't look like I have any. So what I do with this, my trick is I have a new tube and I have an older tube. So I do some coats with my newest tube because usually it's a little bit thinner, so it doesn't build as quickly. And then I go in with my older tube and help to thicken that up some. My mascara and my eyebrows are probably the two things to make my lashes look good, and my eyebrows are probably my two most important features that I like to accentuate, because again, I naturally have all that blonde hair. Always make sure you turn your brush so that you can get these nice inner corner ones. Utilize the angles from your brush, because otherwise it's hard to get that without necessarily poking your mascara wand into the corner of your nose. And again, while it's still wet, I'm going to do another coat because I like to make my lashes nice, big, and bold. Get them as thick as possible. It really helps when the mascara is still wet because it lets you build it without it just getting super clumpy. My other trick too, if something is clumping on you, is by taking a clean mascara wand, a spoolie, and just brushing it and separating those lashes, so then you don't end up with those clumps. Because if you're going to use your mascara, you're going to end up with just adding more product and accentuating the clump compared to trying to kind of angle the lashes where you want them and separating them out. Lily, grab yourself something, hun. Sorry. Life of a mother. next trick is I take my Q-tip again and I'll go under my lash line and kind of roll it upwards. So if there's any residue underneath, it's going to just put it up into my lash line and kind of appear like it's just adding a little bit of extra eyeliner. And then on my lids, you can see that there's just a little bit of mascara past the line that I want. So my little trick for that again is I take my lid color with my sponge and I just go in and kind of blot on top of it. And what that does is it just brings back my color of my eyeshadow instead of having that extra messy mascara on the top. That's my trick. Kind of acts like a little magic eraser. And then sometimes what I'll do, just because of that, is again, I'll just grab a wand, just so that if I got any shadow dust, then it will just bring that color back on my ends of my lashes instead of having any of the eyeshadow there. And then the other thing I will do is I will take my crease color again, because sometimes you will make little mistakes with your mascara up touching there. So again, let it dry for a minute, and then just by taking your brush over it again, it just kind of sweeps it off instead of smearing it around it if you try to mess with it when it's wet. And then I do just rub my powder sponge over it again. And then next thing that I do is my blush. So I am using Sheer Desire, which might be a discontinued color. And then as well, I use the Face 5, which is the angled powder brush for blush brush. And again, I always just dab it lightly and start and work. So I usually start up at the top of my cheek and work my way down to the ball of my cheek. And of course, I always smile at the mirror, which I usually get made fun of by my boyfriend because he thinks I'm smiling at him. And I'm not. Sometimes. And as most people know, I am a big fan of blush. So I just slowly work at it until I get the concentration that I really want. Whether I'm working or it's just a Sunday at home, I do my makeup every day. I feel if you feel like you look good, then you do feel good. So my makeup is very important to me. So that's so far. And then of course it's the big task of those eyebrows. So usually I take my spoolie brush and I will brush them all up just so that they're all in the right angle. So I typically go between a couple different products. The eyebrow shaping pencil is one of my favorites. So this one, it comes in, it's an angle. So this does come across looking like powder. I can do my brows just a little bit more prominent if I want to, and it does come with a sharpener hidden in the end of it. But lately, especially where I'm home on isolation and not going to work, I use my brow powder, which again is just a very nice soft powder that gives some more pigment in my brows and fills in all those sparse spots. So the other brush that I use is, I'm not sure what this one is called, but it is the eyebrow brush from Merle. So what I do is, again, I just lightly dab it in, and then I usually start it with my tail ends, because again, your eyebrows to have the right thickness and shape, you go from the corner of your nose, corner of your eye, and straight out. So you can see mine, I do have to draw on to the end just a little bit. And then I just slowly work. Because again, my shape isn't perfected with my microblading. I am missing some strokes, so I just slowly start to work it. The good thing about this powder is if you get too much, you can use your spoolie and just brush it through and it softens it out again. This color is the light brown. The taupe is just a little bit too light for me because I do like my eyebrows. So again, I'm utilizing the angle on the brush. So I find kind of where my bottom is and I just kind of sweep upward. And then I will find the line that I want to follow. And you go along. I do just brush it upward, just nice and light. Having the microblading does help with a little bit of a cheat, because some of that shape is already there. I just have to perfect it with my powder. My other cheat thing that I found online, that if I really want to go fast, is an eyebrow stencil. So for anybody that doesn't have great eyebrows, this is another option to make it easy for you, because you just line it up to where you want it, you hold it. I kind of hold it like this, and then I will put on my color as well. So that will help. You just find the positioning of it and hold it on, and then you just have to fill it. So that's another cheat thing that you can order. I think I got those off of either Wish or Amazon, and it came with, I think there was like 100 different shapes of eyebrows in it. So you just pick kind of whichever one is going to best suit you. You can see much different than the little sparse side over here. So again, I find my angle, and I always bring my other hand over, of course, and I kind of almost put it right in front of me. And I just start to sweep it in. It's always nice to try to build it instead of just blotting something on, because nothing looks worse than a very drawn on eyebrow that looks like it was done with eyeliner. So the powder is my favorite just because it's so soft looking. So again, if you feel like you get too much, or after I'm done, I will always just kind of brush it through just that little bit, just to soften it out a little bit more. So like I said, my two favorite products are probably my brow powder and my mascara, because those are my two favorite things that if I got put on a desert island, or if there was the apocalypse, I would take my mascara with me. Alright, and if you make any mistakes with your eyebrow, you can take your lightest brush and just kind of go over your edges, just to kind of crisp them up and make sure that you didn't go down in any spots. That's usually my little trick. Alright, so that is what I do. And then I usually finish off with, I do have a Merle lipstick that I really, really love, and it's called I'm Peachless. It's one of the lip glazes, but I'm just going to do my cherry chapstick. We also do have a really nice lip moisturizer with Merle as well. Alright, so there we go. Isolation makeup. Thanks for watching.